He had thought no one would ever find out. Dressed in his finest suit, with his arm wrapped around a woman who wasn't his wife, Marcus Bennett strode through the golden-lit lobby of the most prestigious five-star hotel in the city. The marble floor gleamed under the morning sun. Chandeliers sparkled like diamonds, and whispers of luxury floated in the air. He had lived a life of wealth and control, believing he could hide behind his power, his charm, and his money. But that day, as he reached out to hand over his platinum card to the receptionist, his world stopped. For across the room, walking with unshakable poise, was the last person he expected to see. His wife, Diana. Only this time she wasn't the heartbroken partner he had left behind. She was the new owner of the very empire he thought he ruled. And in that single moment, Marcus's carefully constructed facade shattered like glass. The tale of Marcus and Diana began long before that shocking day in the hotel lobby. Marcus had once been the kind of man every woman dreamed of, ambitious, protective, and endlessly romantic. Diana, radiant in her quiet strength, had stood beside him when he had nothing but dreams in his pocket. Together they built a company, a home, and a family of dreams that seemed indestructible. But as success grew, so did Marcus's hunger for more. Late nights turned into secret meetings. Whispered phone calls became more frequent, and eventually Diana felt the shift in his touch. The warmth she once knew had been replaced by cold indifference. And before long, Marcus had fallen into the arms of another woman, a younger, dazzling socialite named Victoria, who loved the thrill of Marcus's wealth, but cared nothing for the foundation he had built with Diana. Diana had seen it all. She had noticed the missed anniversaries, the lipstick stains on his shirts, the hotel bills that didn't add up. She knew, and though her heart broke, she carried her pain in silence. People saw her as the perfect wife of a successful man. But behind her smile, she was crumbling. What Marcus didn't know was that Diana was stronger than he ever imagined. Instead of drowning in despair, she poured her energy into something new, an investment that she kept hidden, guided by her own intelligence and quiet resilience. With every piece of her heart he broke, she stitched together a new destiny, one that would ultimately change everything. The day Marcus walked into that hotel with Victoria was supposed to be just another indulgence in his life of secrecy. The lobby smelled of roses, the staff bowed respectfully, and Victoria clung to him like a prized possession. He smirked, believing the world belonged to him. But when Diana appeared, dressed in a cream suit that radiated authority, her gaze locked firmly on him, his confidence melted away. She wasn't there as a betrayed wife, begging for answers. She was there as the woman who now held the keys to the empire. Marcus's hand trembled as he passed his card to the receptionist, who now looked nervously between him and Diana. Victoria, oblivious at first, pressed closer to him, whispering flirtatiously until she noticed the icy tension in the air. The whispers among the staff grew louder. Guests turned their heads, and then, with one graceful step, Diana walked forward, her heels echoing against the marble floor like thunder in a storm. She had come not to expose him with anger, but to remind him of everything he had lost. The silence in that grand hall carried 1,000 unspoken truths. Marcus saw in Diana's eyes the reflection of his own choices, the broken promises, the lies, the selfishness. He wanted to speak, to explain, but no words came. Victoria shifted uncomfortably, realizing she was standing in the shadow of a woman who carried dignity far greater than wealth or youth. Diana didn't need to raise her voice. Her presence was enough. She was no longer the wife waiting for scraps of love. She was the owner, the leader, the woman who had risen from betrayal to become her own strength. For Marcus, that moment was like staring into a mirror of regret. The glamorous world he thought he owned suddenly felt empty. The woman he had dismissed as fragile now stood untouchable, not out of revenge, but out of triumph. And the mistress he thought would fill the void in his life now looked like a fleeting distraction, paling in comparison to the depth and grace of Diana. The truth hit him like a tidal wave. He had traded gold for glitter, substance for shadows, love for lust. But the story does not end with Marcus's downfall. Diana, despite her pain, did not carry hatred in her heart. She had every reason to humiliate him in front of everyone, but instead, she chose silence. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. She turned her gaze away, not to escape him, but to show that her life no longer revolved around his choices. She had carved her own path, and whether Marcus realized it or not, she had found her freedom. The staff looked at her with admiration, Victoria with envy, and Marcus with a sorrow that words could never capture. In the days that followed, Marcus struggled with the weight of his mistakes. He wandered through empty rooms, replaying moments he had once taken for granted. The morning Diana made him coffee, the nights she stayed up waiting for him, the way she always believed in his dreams. He understood too late that success meant nothing without the love and loyalty of someone who stood by you when you had nothing. Diana had been that person, and he had lost her not because she wasn't enough, but because he had failed to see that she was everything. Diana, on the other hand, flourished. She turned the hotel into more than just a place of luxury. Under her leadership, it became a symbol of resilience, a safe haven for those starting over, and a tribute to second chances. Guests whispered about the elegant woman who had once been broken, but rose stronger than ever. She didn't just own the hotel, she embodied it, grand, graceful, and unshakable. Because in the end, the story of Marcus and Diana isn't just about betrayal. It's about transformation. It's about the quiet power of choosing dignity over revenge, of finding strength in the ruins of heartbreak, and of realizing that sometimes the greatest victory is simply rising above. And as Diana stood in the sunlight streaming through the hotel's tall windows, the world saw not a wife left behind, but a woman reborn,